From the adventures of me and BB destroying bombers, to my adventures with Doris Dogwood outsmarting Pee Wee Sutton, to toilet talk with, well, the one and only me. There is only one, repeat, just one, Toilet Terry. Wow, we have made it to the last episode. Glad you guys have bared with me. For those of you who have, Toilet Talk with Terry. That would be me. With tonight's topic of good to be here, as usual. So yes, we're going to discuss how to annoy the passenger next to you on a flight. Ooh, nobody does better at that than my grandpa. Scary, yeah. Yeah. Okay, I sound like Hardy now. He'll either be on his way to see us from Wisconsin or back to Wisconsin from seeing us. Gets nervous around strangers and conversations, so his brother's always got a lavalier on and he's got an earpiece in to guide him through conversations with strangers. Like I have mentioned on the last season. Yeah, that was a great story. I don't care what you old folks say. That was a great story. Also, like I said on the last season, though, yes, sometimes he forgets that he's helping his brother and is elsewhere with other people, and he forgets to turn his lavalier off. Turn your lavalier off, dummy. If you're not going to help him, then don't make him say things that sound derogatory. Good grief. He will repeat everything you say, no matter what it is. He's that literal. Just turn your lavalier off. But does he? No. My grandfather's on the plane. This young lady sits next to him. His brother has neglected him and is at a football game. Meanwhile, and he just so happens to have a guy who's big, sitting in front of him blocking his view. And he has no regard for whether or not he hurts other people's feelings. His brother doesn't. Well, hence he doesn't have regard for his brother either. So, next thing my grandfather knows, this lady says hi to him, and he replies to her with, "Move your fat self over." Oh boy. Yeah. Well, there's nobody to annoy on the plane now, you old fart. She's moving away, because you said that to her. Or, if she really is big and fat, she's moving away. Shortly after his flight took off, his brother left the football game and went for a late night dinner at the Varsity. A guy behind my grandfather on the plane taps him and says, "What's your problem, sir?" And he replies with, "What do you have?" They go and get a flight attendant on him, y'all. And when the flight attendant approaches his seat, she stares him down and says, "What do you have to say for yourself, man?" And he replies with, "Man, these onion rings are tasty." And the flight attendant stares him down and says, "Are you okay, man? Having delusions or something? Are you out of your mind? Are you okay? You need a doctor? What's going on? Okay, let me test your knowledge, okay? What's 2 plus 2? And he replies, "Yeah." Okay, maybe you didn't hear me that time, because I see your hearing aid. Let me ask you again. What's 2 plus 2? And he replies, "A chili dog." A little while later in the flight, my grandfather's asleep. The flight attendant has given up on him and he's asleep. And then his brother is meanwhile back home baking something. He still doesn't know his lavalier is still on, to my surprise. My grandfather then lets a big rip in his sleep. He farts in his sleep. He passes gas on the leather seat in the plane. Ew. And in his sleep, he repeats after his brother, who's baking, "Ah, my buns are burning, my buns are burning." I haven't even got to the best part. No. Later, his brother is having time with his wife, and he says things to her that you should never say in public. I don't even know if I'm going to go into it. Or maybe I will. Or not. Or maybe. You know what? No, I'm not going to share everything. I'm just going to make a long story short. Skip to the end. In the end, when the flight lands, the flight attendant comes back to his seat and says to him, okay, everybody is disgusted now about the derogatory things you've been saying. Nobody wants to hear about your imaginary wife. Okay, you understand that, you old fart? And then he replies with, what was that, sugar bear? So, y'all want to know the answer to the question? How do you annoy a passenger on the plane? Or a passenger sitting next to you on the plane? The answer is simple. Be like Justin Bieber. Just kidding. Be like a grandpa. Be like an old man. You know, with the hearing aids. Just be like grandpa. Be like grandfather. Or whatever you call him. There, that's the answer. Alright, well, that concludes the Toilet Talk with Terry 10. I have enjoyed this season. Hope y'all have enjoyed it just as much as I have. Don't forget to click subscribe for more comments. No, not comments. Content. There's a big difference. Coming soon. It's gonna be amazing. You don't want to miss it. All right. Take care. Peace, everybody.
Hold up.
Yes, we are going to play episode 28 of Tall Tales with Terry, and episodes 29 and 30 will be coming soon after, but not on this show. Enjoy. What do y'all think of this idea? I printed out a bunch of Mad Lib stories with blanks on them. On sticky notes, I then had people write some random words to fill in the blanks. Using the words that were given to me, I would then finish telling the stories. Shall we? This story is called, Ooh, From a Secret Admirer? That makes me so excited. But unfortunately, it's not for me. It's just a story. But I'm gonna read it anyway. Dear
Little boat.
Dear Lil Boat, I first saw you at the school carnival when you threw a snowball through that ring of
Toilet paper.
toilet paper. You caught my attention when you won the fluffy eating contest. My heart fluttered. I was definitely hooked when you participated in the costume contest. I have never seen a better
Wiggle butt boxer.
Oh, so he dressed as a wiggle butt boxer for Halloween. Okay. Watching you, I wished we were together. For you, I would win the carnival's top prize, which is
A scarf.
Must have been a winter carnival then. It is true. I admit that getting any tag to Gym Rat and Street Urchin at the same time would be very difficult. But I would do it for you. In fact, I've been practicing at home for months. Okay. I feel a bit like Romeo and Juliet. Our families are so different. My family likes eating
kitchens
and camping out in places like
octopuses.
Your family prefers
Fat McBinions.
Your family prefers Fat McBinions.
Opinions.
Fact McOpinion? And also prefers trips to
Talkative places.
What?
Talkative places.
And prefers trips to talkative places. They must be really talkative people. You travel by
Batman.
You travel by Batman. We travel by
Farty party.
By farty party. Oh man. Could our worlds possibly fit together? No, I don't think so. Or is this dream of mine just ridiculous? If you are as hopeful as I am, please leave a note in the pursuit of things outside. My fingers are crossed. From your secret admirer. Okay, I'm kind of glad this was fake, because if I had a secret admirer who said anything like that, I'd be kind of freaked out. Well, that's all we have time for today here on Tall Tales with Terry. See y'all on the next episode. Well, greetings. I'm Teddy, here with my mother, Teresa. Welcome to Analogies. This episode's topic, historical figures. Robert E. Lee was of the Confederacy, while Ulysses S. Grant was of the
Union.
Bin Laden was to Islam, as Franklin D. Roosevelt, or FDR, was to
American Christian.
Susan B. Anthony is to quarters, while Benjamin Franklin is to a
$100 bill.
Adolf Hitler is to Hornet, while Vladimir Putin is to a
Black.
Lewis and Clark are a duo, while the KKK is a
Hooded group.
Well, that's all for today, folks. Those are some pretty great historical figures. I hope I get to be one. I'm sure J. Michael, my grandfather, is already one and just doesn't know it yet. Anywho, and yes, he is also up next again.
Where were you? I belong to a Kiwanis club here in my hometown of Smyrna, Georgia. I've been a member for over 20 years. I really enjoy my time in Kiwanis and visiting with my friends. We meet every Tuesday morning, and we always enjoy the friendship and the camaraderie. We get there early so we can drink coffee and catch up on events in our lives, talk about what's going on in the community. We also have volunteer opportunities. We have things we can do that help our community, and I love doing that. One of the events and things that we sponsored and have for many years is Meals on Wheels. We deliver meals to shut-ins and invalids and people that just need help, people that may be poor and need to be fed at least one good meal a day, and we deliver those. So on this particular day, it was Tuesday, September the 11th, 2001, and it was my turn to deliver Meals on Wheels in Smyrna. The recipients of the meals are always glad to see us, and we try to stay with each family, each person, as long as we can, but still make our rounds in about 2 hours so that everybody gets a meal. But it seems to brighten the recipients' days, and we enjoy visiting with them. Now, Kiwanis is a volunteer group, and they always insist that 2 people go on these Meals on Wheels visits. It's for safety, number one, and because one person can drive and the other one can navigate, and we usually have 10, 12, sometimes as many as 15 people that we're trying to get to. And so it's always good to operate in pairs. My partner on this day, again, September the 11th, 2001, my partner was a retired Army colonel named Walter McElwain. Now, you need to know a little bit about Walt. He was a favorite of mine. Walt has since passed away, and I miss him very much. But he was an old, crusty Army veteran. He was in the Army for more than 30 years. He stormed the beaches of Normandy. He fought in the Korean War, in Vietnam. His helicopter was shot down in Vietnam. He didn't like to talk much about his service. Many people from that era just don't do it. But Walt was typical of his generation. He was a tough old nut, had a gruff voice and a demeanor to match. On Tuesday, our habit is to meet at a particular place, enjoy some coffee, and visit with our friends before we leave to go and collect the meals and get the maps and the list of people that we're going to visit that day for Meals on Wheels. So we arrived a little bit earlier than normal, and Walt and I gathered our stuff up, had our coffee, and said our goodbyes. It was about 9 o'clock, maybe a few minutes before. So we left, said our goodbyes, got our address list and our meals together, and we headed off. We did not turn on the radio. We enjoyed visiting, so everybody at Kiwanis had been talking about the plane that had hit one of the towers in New York City. We all thought it was an accident, but we thought it was an accident, so we didn't even bother listening to the radio as we headed toward our first visit. We pulled into the driveway of this first house. Walt got the meal stuff together, and I grabbed the name of the person and special instructions, and we knocked on the front door. Nobody came. We knocked again, even louder, and I called out the man's name. Nothing happened. Our instructions are to go to another door if this ever occurs, and so we went around to a side door, knocked again, even louder, called out, Meals on Wheels. Nobody came to the door. So I looked at Walt, he said, try the door. So I tried the door handle, and it opened right up, right into the kitchen. Now we don't go in unless we're invited, so I stuck my head in and I shouted real loud, Meals on Wheels, are you home? And we heard this faint voice in the back of the house. He said, come on in, boys, I'm in the back. So we entered the house. There in the back room in this little house, dimly lit room, was this small man sitting in an overstuffed chair with a TV right in front of him, about 3 feet from his face, and he was staring at the screen. By now it was a few minutes after 9 o'clock. He turned around, he looked at me, he looked at Colonel Walt McElwain. The man said, pull up a chair, boys. History is being made today. America is under attack. I froze. I was dumbfounded. I looked at that TV. I looked at Walt. He straightened up, straight as an arrow. Walt said, we have meals to deliver and we have to go home and be with our families, and we have to go now. This was an order from the colonel. This was not a request. And I knew we had to leave, and so we left quickly. We finished our deliveries as quickly as we could, and every place we went, people wanted to talk about what was going on in New York City, but we just couldn't. So we left and we drove in silence. I arrived back home and I learned that a second plane had hit the tower at 9:03. That's about the time we were leaving Kiwanis to start our route. At 9:37, a plane hit the Pentagon, just as we were loading meals into the car. We didn't know that. At 10:03, Flight 96 crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Everyone died. And that's just about the time we were making our first delivery to that house. At 10:28, the first tower fell, followed very shortly by the second tower, and 3,000 Americans died instantly. Like most Americans, my wife and I spent the next several days glued to the television set. A few days later, President George Bush toured the crash site in New York. As the crowd cheered, he said, I can hear you, the rest of the world can hear you. And the people that knocked down these towers will hear from all of us soon. I never heard Colonel Walter McElwain speak of that day again. He treated it like he treated any other combat experience. But I was glad I was with him on that terrible day. He was calm, he was anxious, but he was in charge. He was my friend, and I miss him very much. And I'll never forget where I was on that day. Where were you?
That's it. That is it. I really have enjoyed this season. I hope you guys have too. I may or may not be back for another season. Who knows? But anyway, I may or may not be saying this for the last time. But good night, everybody.